Hi, in this video we are going to be talking about functionalist sociologist Robert K. Merton. He's quite an important figure in sociology. He's around in the best part of the 20th century and his career starts off at Harvard University. That's where he's going to get his MA and his PhD in sociology. Now there will be lots and lots to talk about regarding Robert K. Merton. Got many sociological ideas, from self-fulfilling prophecy to the Matthew effect, but today we are going to be focusing on his work in early criminology, and that means we're going to be looking at his strain theory. So where does Merton fit when we think about him as a sociologist? Well, I said before that he was a functionalist, and you want to consider him as one of the principal early writers from a functionalist perspective when he looks at criminology. And we will see today from some of the weaknesses of Merton and some of the problems with his theory, how later theories develop, later theories such as Albert Cohen's concept, an idea about status frustration, which come from some of the weaknesses of Merton's thinking. Hopefully I will tag the video in that I've done on Albert Cohen, which you can go to after this, and I'll put that in the links section. So we should consider him a traditional functionalist writer, and then we know that from him many other sociological thinkers developed their theories on criminology. So when we consider Merton's strain theory, how should we envisage it? For me, I kind of map it out onto a linear pathway. At one end of the strain theory is the goal. Now, Merton says that the goal refers to the concept of this American dream. And when he says the American dream, what he means is the idea of being wealthy, of attaining wealth. Big house, a swimming pool, and all of the things that come with that. So the almighty dollar, if you like, is the American dream. And on the other end, the strain is going to be existing between that and the way that you would attain that particular goal. So the means of attaining the American dream, whether those means are legitimate or illegitimate, by which he means, do you go about achieving the American goal in a conformist way, or do you go about it breaking the norms and the criminal code in your society? Now, if you can imagine, everybody is on this this linear pathway, and some people are under far less strain than others. Essentially, what you've got to do is you then got to start looking at groups who will be under the most strain, and these groups might include young people, working class people, ethnic minorities, who most likely would be further away from the goal of being a millionaire, if you want to call it that. Those would be the groups who would be under the most strain. So Merton's theory of strain is going to explain why we might see working class, ethnic minority, young people who don't have very much money being under the most strain. And what he says is there are responses to that strain, and those responses you can see now. The two principal ones that maybe are most important are conformist and innovation, because those would be your typical everyday person, your conformist who wants to have lots more money and goes about trying to achieve that in a legitimate way. That will be most people working a normal 9-to-5 job. Whether or not they are successful is irrelevant really to the way that they go about trying to attain monetary wealth. But then there's a other group, the innovators. They are in favour of wanting money and wanting that American dream as their goal, but they will go about trying to achieve that in an illegitimate fashion, and that is because the strain has become too great for them. Therefore they will try to attain money in an illegitimate way, being a member of a gang, selling drugs, robbing, whatever it might be. That will be how Merton sees them getting to the goal. There are other adaptations of the strain theory, other responses: ritualist, retreatist, and rebellion, and each of those have got a different relationship to the means and the dream itself. So the ritualist, for example, will not really accept the goal of wanting more money. Think of the ritualist as the person who goes to work, puts no effort in, and goes to bed and then wakes up and goes to work again. They're going through the ritual of daily life. They're not bothered about promotion or chasing extra cash. They're just going through life as a ritual day to day. Then you have the retreatist. Your retreatist doesn't value getting any money, but your retreatist is doing things that are illegal. You could think of them as a drug user, for example. And then you have the final category, which is the rarer category of rebellion, someone who kind of subverts the goals of the American dream itself, sets themselves new goals and sets themselves new means of achieving it, a much more rare adaptation. But principally for you completing a GCSE or an A-level, you want to be focusing on conformist and innovation as your two main adaptations of Merton's theory, which explain why some people are committing crime when they have a deficit in terms of money and wealth. Like with any theory though, Merton's theory's got quite a few problems. One of the principal issues is that he focuses on utilitarian crime. For him, every crime's got a reason, a cause. The cause is to get closer to the American dream. So what happens for crimes that exist where there is no financial gain? Things like vandalism, things like joyriding, where the person is not going to receive any monetary gain from committing that crime. Those issues are not considered. We also got a problem when he looks at white-collar crime. White-collar crime traditionally is crime committed by the middle classes. They're doing that, again, for money, but in order to commit white-collar crime, you usually would have to have a professional job, or the ability, the working ability to embezzle money from the business that you are employed by. Now, not everybody has that, and of course, when you see people committing white-collar crimes, someone like Bernie Madoff, very famous for committing a white-collar crime, he's already got millions of pounds. So he's not really under any strain whatsoever. So Merton's theory doesn't explain why people who don't have the traditional problems of strain, they're already millionaires living in a big house with a swimming pool, why would they commit any crime at all? I suppose there are some other big issues, and one of these is addressed by Albert Cohen later on, is that Merton doesn't consider crime that appears and takes place in groups. He's looking just at the individual. And of course, the final big problem is not every group that is under strain commits a lot of crime. So straight away, when you thought about groups that might be more marginalised economically, we went for working class, young and ethnic minorities, and that is true. And obviously the official statistics on crime will show that there's a predilection of crime from people of those backgrounds. However, if you were to also look at groups that you might say are marginalised, well, a feminist would say females are more marginalised economically. The elderly are certainly a group who are marginalised. The disabled certainly a group who are economically marginalised. Well, if you look for statistics on crime committed by elderly disabled women, they're not in the crime statistics and they don't appear in there. But the argument would be that, well, they're under a significant amount of strain, so why do they not become innovators? So there are lots of weaknesses to Merton's theory, and lots of problems that hopefully, if you're writing about it in an exam, will give you plenty of time to unpack and explain. As always, I hope this video was helpful. Remember, this should be to support your A-level and your GCSE sociology, but don't use it in place of the advice given by your teachers. If you've got any other writers or concepts that you would like to see me do a video on, then by all means send me a message and I can see if I can set that up. As always, I'll attach the reference list which I've used to get this information at the end of the video.